morning and welcome back to the Sapphic Stitchery. I warned you that I would not be a frequent uploader and I'm so afraid that that is exactly what has happened. My name is Beanie. Look, I got a cup and everything that says it. And I live with my wife Bear in the Sussex countryside in this beautiful 500-year-old cottage with incredibly drafty windows. So if you can hear people chit-chatting outside, I am ever so sorry. We're doing our best. This is what we're given. Additionally, I'm recording on my phone, so I can't see myself. This is the first time that I'm actually using the much more high quality back camera rather than the front camera. And it's a little bit unnerving that I don't know, are things recording? Am I even screen? I don't even know. But we're going to make it work, okay? I refuse to re-record this if it should go wrong. Probably famous last words. But what are we even here for? I am a knitter, sewer, writer, generally crafty person. This is my podcast where I share all things knitting and sewing and ever so occasionally writing, but probably not today because I'm feeling a wee bit shy. Before we head into the main part of the episode, I did want to take a little moment to acknowledge just how fraught the political landscape is at the moment. I do know that a lot of people who've been messaging me have specifically watched my podcast because it brought them peace. So I'm not going to get very much into it, but I did want to say that obviously you've noticed this is a Sapphic Stitchery. So if you are a member of the LGBTQ plus community, you are more than welcome here. And I do want to specifically extend a warm hand, a welcome out to my trans friends, new and old, because you are also very welcome here, and what is being said about you in the public sphere at the moment is not at all okay. I did just want to say that, and that is the last bit of politics. I don't consider people's identities to be politics, but you know what I mean, that we will talk about. From here on in, it is just going to be about coziness, maybe some tea, this is green tea, and we will speak no more of it, okay? Thank you so much to like more than 100 people that have started following me in the past month since I uploaded. I know 100 people is not very much in the grand scheme of the internet, right? But when you have like a little knitting podcast, specifically a vintage knitting podcast, you do not expect that kind of thing to happen. You're like, okay, like there may be like 12 individuals. I would have quite gladly been speaking to 12 people who want to follow me and listen to me yapping. And yet there were more of you, and you are so welcome, and I am thrilled to have you here. And I have heard the pleas in my Instagram messages to please upload more, because obviously there's only been one episode, so binging who? Binging what? But I did actually want to spend a little bit of time actually knitting and sewing and having items to show you, because otherwise it's a little bit boring if I'm just showing you like something that's just been cast on. But I digress. I have my notes on my handy dandy iPad because sometimes this old girl's memory is shut. Technically, officially, the section that we just finished, I termed the stitch and spell. I forgot to say that at the start, but that's okay. Oh, I wanted to mention I got new glasses. These are the Anglo-American Groucho glasses. They are much smaller than my previous pair of glasses, and I think I look very chic, very out there, and just a wee bit eccentric, which is how we like things over here. Next up, what am I actually wearing today? You can hopefully see it in all of its glorious Technicolor. This is the Make Do jumper by Squidney School of Vintage Knitting. And I've made it in odds and ends of, I think it's Jameson and Smith, but there's also some Jameson of Shetland in there. And they're just bits that I had lying around. In fact, there were so much bits that I had lying around that you can probably see that there's a little jump between these two blues here, because I ran out of one blue and then bought more of the same yarn. But you know, dye lots differ from lot to lot, much less years apart. So hence it looks like this, but I think it adds to it personally. I actually quite want another one of these, but I'm kind of collecting little oddments to make more of, because otherwise I think it's cheating. It's cheating if you go out and buy items for your Make Do and Men jumper. If you have just started knitting, this does not apply to you. The rest of us, it's cheating. Anyway, next up, we're on to our projects in the spotlight, and we're going to talk about what I'm currently actually knitting. Where shall we start? Do you have a preference? Oh, we'll start on something that is my current go-to on the move. Like when I sit in writing class, I like knitting on this friend. And you kind of met him previously. You met him slightly differently, perhaps. You met him just in blue. And because my gauge just started going completely haywire and I started getting looser and looser and looser, it grew and grew and grew and grew. So I've started a new thing where I make definite note of my gauge swatch measurements both before blocking and after blocking so that I can check it. If you're the kind of person whose tension has suddenly started flying away with you, maybe start doing that too. But I also thought that adding another colour in, so this is the Camel's Yarn BFL Fingering Weight, the blue. It is in the colour New Denim. And then we have these little pearl bumps in Cascade 220, also in 4-ply obviously. And all of this I've kind of popped onto a Squidney School of Vintage Knitting home front pattern, but the idea behind the pearl bumps is from a Susan Crawford pattern that is a dress that I cannot think of right now, but I will put in the bottom notes, I promise you. I'm so sorry. But yeah, that's just the pearl bump idea came from that, so that we have some interest. Mainly because I realized that obviously this Cascade 220 4-ply is a much grippier yarn than this really smooth BFL. So I thought if I just put them in as regular old stripes, it was just going to look strange. Yes, I promise this fits me. I know it looks bananas here. I know this looks scary. I freak out every time when I realize I have a small waist, humble brag. And when I cast on the amount of stitches from my waist, I always freak out. But I promise I've never had a problem with the waist fitting. But this is where we're at. I think this is either the front or the back. When I'm sat in writing class and we're having like a discussion, it helps me to knit away on this. And people are always, if you are ever around people who are not knitters, which I'm sure you frequently are, people are always very, very adorably impressed by the fact that we can knit as well as talk, which I always think is really cute. Like it's a pretty quick, speedy ability to pick up, especially when you're just doing straight knitting, right? What shall we go on to next? Oh, I know. If my mom is watching, she needs to look away, please, because I am working on this for her. This is the Iingred Slipover by Petite Knits, and it is in Lion brand Fisherman's Wool, which is also technically a new acquisition for this month because I didn't have anything in this yarn weight that I could actually make an entire slipover out of for my mom. And she'd once asked me ages ago to make her something similar to this, and the thing she'd asked me to do was kind of gimmicky, and I was a bit like, oh no, I don't want to make that. But this, I think, is something that will actually be in her closet for ages. I will put up an actual image of the slipover, the way Petite Knits has it, because obviously you can't tell very much from this. It's got like 2 or 3 different textured sections, so it's quite interesting. It's quite nice to keep engaged and listen to an audiobook. It does have German short rows, which I've realized whenever I read that word, I freak out, and then I do them and I remember that they're actually really easy peasy. So if you're freaked out by German short rows, I'd like to remind you they're not that scary. Something I did, however, find quite scary is that the pattern is kind of vague in how to get gauge. It's just like measure over texture pattern. Well, there are 4 different texture patterns within this, and you knit some of them flat and you knit some of them in the round. And then because it's quite an oversized jumper, I kind of just took my chances. I got gauge on this seed stitch bit on the top, and I decided to take my chances and hope it works out. I think it's like 8 inches of positive ease. My mom is teeny weeny, so she is like the size extra small. So it's quite nice because it saves you on yarn. But that's going all right. Hopefully by the time that I upload the next podcast episode, I will have that done. Maybe even a photo of her in it, because her birthday is the 16th of February and that's what it's for. I don't know if I mentioned that it's for her birthday. Maybe that was just in my head. And I need to ship it off to Germany for the 16th of Feb. Hopefully with some possible leeway on it being a smidge late. We'll see. Whenever I work in a pattern that is like on 4mm needles or above, my hands get so crampy, and I don't know if it's because I'm much more used to knitting on fingering weight yarn, so I'm much more used to different hand holds, but so it's, as much as it's nice that it goes faster, it's also a little bit harder because it makes my hands hurt. But what can you do? Next, what else is on my needles? Yes, I've got the monogamous knitter has 3 projects on the go at the moment. The next one we have here in Jamieson and Smith Heritage yarn in the colour Madder is the skirt section of the 4 Seasons suit, also by, can I hear you say it, Squidney School of Vintage Knitting. And if you know that I'm knitting on the skirt part, you can probably guess what might be done in the finished object part of this here podcast. Let me see if I can get a nice section for you here without... Oh, yeah, I've already pulled some stitches off my needles. Wonderful, that's what we like. Anyway, I'm not very far. I'm on like the lower hip shaping at this point. I'm doing the spring version, which has this little tulip pattern, which looks like a heart, and I think it looks like a heart partially because it's in this beautiful red. It's a really delicious knit. The lace panels are so easy, and there's only like 2 tiny sections of them, and it's really fun to knit on. I think I could even have knitted this in writing class as well, but instead this is just kind of my around the house knit at the moment, because you might not know this about me. I have clinical levels of OCD, which means I need a bed project, and I need a home project, and I need an on-the-go project. Specifically, the on-the-go project is always kept separately from everything else, because I don't like having dirt in my bed. You can discuss amongst yourselves how healthy it is for me to give in to those compulsions. That is one that I will be keeping. That one's important to me. It helps me keep a sense of safety. Anyway, mental health hour over. What have I finished this month? Well, some people noted that I was very excited that I got away with the neckline issue on this here beautiful, if I do say so myself, 4 Seasons blouse, which is to go with that skirt. I've already gotten to wear this bad boy to the theatre, and I felt very beautiful. It's come out so pretty. I will insert footage of me wearing it here or here. I don't know yet, because I am not a pro at this whole video editing thing. This is, however, the first time that I have mounted my button band onto some ribbon, which was incredibly fiddly to do the buttonholes on the machine, obviously. Let me see if I can show you one. Here's my little buttonhole on the machine. It's a vintage ribbon. It feels very Sound of Music Tyrolean, but nonetheless, even though I mounted it onto the ribbon to try and stop that gaping happening over the bust, it still does it a little bit. So I did actually sew up the blouse to about here, because I will never wear this open. This is not to be worn open. So I felt pretty comfortable doing that. It's actually surprisingly comfortable, considering that it's made out of Shetland yarn, and I really love it, and I can't wait to pair it together with my skirt. And I feel like I'm going to look like quite the 1930s lady. Excuse me, let me consult my notes. I don't know what's next. Right, the eagle-eyed among you may have been able to see this here friend. Let's see how this is going to work out, considering that I can't see what you can see. I made this coat. I'm incredibly proud of this coat. Oh, if this next project is a sewing project, so if that's not your jam, you can go. Bye, nice to see you. I went to university for tailoring originally, but I had never actually made myself a tailored garment like this, just for everyday wear, until this summer, May, I think, I started on this friend. And then, obviously, the next year, I finally finished it. And let me show you. So I'm quite proud of, especially the lining. Hopefully editing Beanie has shown you what this looks like on me, because we won't be able to show you easily because I can't see what I look like. Here's the lining and here's the sleeve lining so that it can easily be slipped on and off. Or maybe we can just do a little thing like this for a second. This is my coat. I made this completely traditionally tailored on the inside. It's got, you know, hair canvas, pad stitching, the whole 9 yards. I even hand worked the buttonholes. I'm very proud of them. The most bottom one's probably the best one. Even though I worked my way up from the bottom to try and get better as I got to the top, my worst buttonhole probably ended up being the one on my lapel where the fabric actually knotted while I was working on it, and it's got a little knot in it. And Bear keeps telling me it's where the ghosts get out, and I keep telling her I wish my clothes had a little bit more ghosts in them because too much lack of ghost in my clothes. Also made myself this lovely little label which says Beanie Meldon, fine knitwear and tailoring, made in England, established in 1992. And it's inspired by, obviously, vintage labels. So yeah, this is my coat. It has pockets. That's always very important to people, less important to me. I think when you make your own clothes and you're so used to being able to put in whatever the heck you want, you're less impressed by pockets. Oh, I had these made by Harlequin. You just send them fabric and then they can make you fabric covered buttonholes and you can feel like a 1940s dream. Oh, the pattern. It is the Veronica Coat by Wearing History Patterns. I'm trying to think if I did any major adjustments. I've got quite small shoulders, so I took that in a little bit, and I think I chopped off a good 4 inches off of the bottom, and it's still an almost full-length coat on me. Impressive, I know, I'm short. It saves fabric. I've probably got enough to make a skirt as well. Did I want to mention anything else? Oh, I just wanted to say that I am especially proud of the buttonholes because I was very careful in that I made probably 10 samples of buttonholes. I know, it sounds like I'm saying buttholes. I'm not saying buttholes. I probably made 10 samples of buttonholes before I let myself work on the actual coat. And considering that each buttonhole takes about 25 minutes, that's quite a big time investment. And I did start to get very anxious about messing it up on the coat anyway, and obviously that happened a wee little bit, but it's had its first outing in the wild. Right. That is it from me this week, this month probably. Hope you've enjoyed this. If there's anything specific that you liked, let me know down below. If there's anything you want me to change, let me know kindly down below. Please don't hurt my feelings too badly. I do cry very, very easily. I hope that I will see you again next month. It all depends on how quickly these little fingies can work. I'm hoping that sewing wise by next month I will hopefully have made Bear's birthday present. She has asked for a little sweatsuit. She wants a little French terry sweatsuit, so obviously she's getting that, but I'm wrapping up little fabric samples for her birthday, which is on the 31st of January. So if you want to say happy birthday, Bear, drop that down below. What else will I hopefully be working on? I desperately need some trousers, probably more than any knitwear. I need to make myself some trousers, and I've got a couple of patterns set aside. I've even got fabric set aside, but because this bad boy was just staring at me going, yo, you have not finished me, and I couldn't let myself. But now I will, obviously, because now I am a changed woman. We'll see about that. Anyway, I need trousers. These, you've probably seen these a million times. These are my only trousers. You can follow me all over the interwebs as Meldonina or Dear Agatha Cottage on TikTok. You can find me as the Sapphic Stitchery here. What else do YouTubers usually say? Oh, like, follow, and subscribe. But I'll be honest, my very favorite thing is the comments. I love talking to you guys. It makes it feel more like a two-way conversation rather than this quite weird setup where I've got a microphone there, a light there, and a camera there, and I'm acting like I'm speaking to people. You know, it's weird. This is cold. Let's not pretend that this is, yeah. Goodbye from me, and it's on to editing, Beanie.